Nam yo ho ninge 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 nam yo ho ninge.
Hi, I'm Margaret. I'm so glad you've come to spend some time with me today. It's just a reminder that this is the website where we take Buddhist practice and philosophy and we apply it to the problems of everyday life. And so today, our topic is going to be, is your practice wavering? Now, there are really two aspects to this question. Both your practice for yourself and your practice for others. To me, it's almost like they're concurrent, but at the same time, sequential steps in the journey to enlightenment, because it takes these two legs to move forward to enlightenment. In this video, we'll be looking at what it means to put the practice in the center of your life. And then we'll contrast it with what it looks like when you're not putting the practice in the center, even though you might be chanting. This is when your practice might be wavering. So let's look at how it looks when the practice is in the center of your life when you're practicing for yourself. First, when a problem or obstacle arises, you start by chanting first rather than trying to solve it through getting advice, strategizing, etc. This is when you start by going to the Gohanzen with everything that happens, no matter how big or small the issue. Second, another aspect of putting the practice in the center of your life is to practice both morning and evening, as well as attend and contribute to meetings without begrudging the time. It becomes a way of life. Third, if you've practiced for a while, instead of going to meetings for what you can get out of it, you also go to help others understand Buddhist teachings and to show them how to apply the practice to solve their problems through encouragement, through discussion, experiences, and presentations. The practice is in the center of your life when you do your absolute best to create value in everything you do by taking the time to do it well. You know that your daily life is your practice as well as the time you spend chanting. And finally, your practice is in the center of your life when issues come up in daily life and you apply some of the Buddhist teachings to resolving them. You know that blaming others or your environment is not the Buddhist way, that your situation comes from the inside of you to manifest in the outer world. Let me just give you an example of this. Sylvia felt isolated at work. She chanted about it, and after reflecting on her life, saw that this had been the situation much of her life. But now she'd learned about oneness of self in the environment, so she understood that this situation came from inside of her. She examined her behavior and realized she wasn't saying hello to the others or asking about their lives. She resolved to change that behavior, and once she did, it wasn't long before she was included as part of the group. Now let's examine how it looks when the practice is at the periphery of your life. First, other things have priority over morning practice. Second, you find yourself using excuses to avoid chanting or going to meetings. Third, other activities consistently have priority over meetings. 4, you might quit when you run into problems or when things don't work out the way you expected. 5th, you only chant and connect with practitioners when your life isn't working. 6, you might resent something a leader is or is not doing and are withdrawing because of it. One long-term practitioner commented that if she had stopped going to meetings because of being irritated with a leader, she would have stopped practicing years ago. And 7, you're blaming something outside of yourself, such as other people or the environment, for your situation. For any one of us, our practice can waver without even being aware of it. So periodically, it's good to review what you've been doing. Now let's look at your practice for others. Sometimes people do chant regularly, but don't really do the work of practicing for others. Others leap right in. Tetsuburo Motoguchi was very clear about the importance of the practice for others in our own lives. He says, quote, "While there is no dispute about the fact that someone who believes in the mystic law will have their prayers answered and realize benefit, this does not constitute bodhisattva practice. There's just no such thing as a self-centered Buddha who simply accumulates personal benefit and does not work for the well-being of others. Unless we carry out bodhisattva practice, we cannot attain Buddhahood." Now, this was a quote from The Heritage of the Ultimate Law of Life, page 107. My favorite writing, by the way. There's a major shift that occurs in your life when you take up the practice for others, chanting for them, introducing new people, and supporting them in the practice. In the Wisdom of the Lotus Sutra, volume 5, page 23, Daisaku Ikeda says, quote, "When we devote ourselves to the happiness of others, when of our own free will we undertake the struggle of a bodhisattva, the immense force of life without beginning or end wells up in our being. The eternal life of the Buddha permeates our being like a rising tide, and then there's no way we cannot dramatically change our lives for the better." Unquote. When we begrudge the time we give to Buddhist activities without realizing it, we're just inhibiting our own growth. These activities exist for our growth. We're not doing them for the organization. Following the guidelines given to us by the 3 presidents will place you firmly on the evolutionary fast track. I've heard so many experiences of people who care for others and support their growth. They find that their own lives take a great leap forward, and they feel they're moving forward at light speed. They've discovered that the more effort they put into activities, the better things go in their lives. And this has been my experience as well. So caring for others includes introducing someone new to Buddhism, helping newbies understand the concepts or learn Ganyo, encouraging them and sharing your experiences. It means taking a friend and making a home visit to chant and encourage a practitioner who's struggling with an obstacle or a challenging life situation. So in summary, today we examined what it looks like when you're firmly grounded in the practice. And then we analyzed what it looks like when your practice is wavering. And finally, we discussed the fact that you can waver without even being aware of it. So it's good to be reminded from time to time. In the next vlog, we're going to take part 2 and look at the process of human revolution and how you can address these issues through doing your human revolution, what that process would be. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you have some other ideas on how either putting the practice in the center of your life would appear, or other ideas on how it looks when you're wavering? I'd also like topics that you're interested in, as I've commented before. I'd love to hear from you. And here are some other references you might like. Number 1, Faith Slipped, 6 Ways to Get Back on Track. Number 2, Know the Warning Signs You're Battling Fundamental Darkness. Number 3, do you know how to refresh your practice? Now, these URLs are all listed in the downloadable transcript under each video on my website, margaretblaine.com, and on YouTube, you can find them on the end screen. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.